Hello, and we are live. The reason I am doing this show live instead of doing a pre-recorded version is one, because I plan to bring a live version of my show to the channel, so welcome early adopters, but two, and the more important reason, is because it's going to be focused on you. So before I jump into focusing on the chat, we do have a little bit to talk about first. So I'm going to start out by giving an overview of the situation from where everything started to get everyone on the same page, bring us to where we are now, talk about some concerns I have with what's been going on, and then I will open up the floor for a Q&A, and I will address your questions, concerns, thoughts, comments. Also, quick side note, I am streaming with a slightly new setup, so if anything is off with my audio, please just let me know so I can fix it. Hey guys, hello Haley, People Person, Raymond, JP, Pierre, Robert, Miko, Rowan, Angry Sun Theory, lots of you guys here. So I'm going to kind of start out with an overview. Now, if you're totally unfamiliar with what's going on with YouTube's monetization policies, I do have a primer video that is a card that is linked up above in the upper right hand corner of this video, so you could go there and check that out. And to answer any questions you guys might have, hey Clockwork, hey Andrea, to answer any questions you guys might have too about whether this stream will be available, it should be available tomorrow on demand if you guys want to check it out after the fact. So with that said, let's start out with a really quick recap of the situation. So starting the day before yesterday, some YouTubers like Mr. Repzion started posting videos that they had lost monetization on a lot of their videos, dozens in some cases. And this triggered a bit of a panic amongst the YouTube community, especially with large YouTubers speaking out about it. This has now brought us to kind of a little bit of backlash, or at least what I think should be backlash if it isn't there already, which is that YouTube has now addressed the situation, letting us know that this is nothing new. It's been in place for a while. It's just that we're now getting notified if we no longer are receiving monetization on content. So this is a little bit of a change from the original issue and draws attention to the real issue, which is that we've been losing monetization all this time and just haven't known about it. Why aren't we focusing more on that? And is that even a problem, or is that just part of YouTube's terms of service as well? And then some concerns about this situation, which are primarily that YouTubers tend to abuse situations like this a little bit for their own gain. You can never forget as a viewer that YouTubers do have a vested interest, of course, in how we make money. So I'm a little concerned that some YouTubers have gone a little bit overboard with this situation, and I'm sure some of you may have some concerns about this too. And then finally, I'll open up to a Q&A, and probably as we talk about concerns a little more, we'll open up to a Q&A too. Right ear has nothing. Okay. Before I go ahead and continue, let me just change my settings really quick. Thank you guys for letting me know. While I'm changing this, I'll just pop the chat on the screen so you guys can see that. Let me know if that fixed it, guys. Is that any better? Hey, Bird News, welcome. Okay, so give me a 1 in chat if that fixed the audio, please. Hey, Dark Justice, it's better? Fixed? Yes. Yay for computer skills. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to open it up to, well, I'm not sure if I should open it up to the chat yet or talk about some of the concerns and where we are now. So before I actually open it up to the chat, let me actually show you some stuff on screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's just move that over there so we don't have Inception on the screen. Since yesterday, a few more YouTubers have uploaded videos about this topic. So we've got Philly D talking about how YouTube's responded, but it gets even more confusing. And in this video, he talks a little bit more about the real issue, which is that we haven't known about this monetization all this time. But I still think he's failed to address one of the big issues, not that it was necessarily his goal to, but about the fact that a lot of YouTubers have abused this situation.
So much stuff has
We
happened.
also have Mr. Repzion having made a video about it. I know Mundane Matt's made a video about it. Some people have made videos about it that I haven't gotten to see yet because, yay me, I was in school all day. Hello, Drama Hub. So there are a lot of updates, but let me bring your attention to the most important one, which comes from YouTube themselves. So they actually released a written statement, a clarification on their ad monetization policies. I will read this for you so you guys don't have to strain your eyes to read the screen, so just bear with me for a moment. Hi, YouTube community. We want to highlight recent changes we made to improve transparency and fairness around video monetization and clarify some confusion in the creator community around our long-standing advertiser-friendly content guidelines. We'll open those up because we'll probably need those. We recently started rolling out improved notifications in Video Manager to make it clearer to creators when a video is demonetized due to advertiser-friendly content concerns, as well as to make it easy to appeal. This change is just one part of our broader effort to improve our platform and help our creators build stronger businesses on YouTube. Today, it's become clear to us that there is some confusion in the creator community, so we wanted to take a moment to clarify things. We did not change our policy of demonetizing videos that may not be appropriate for Google's brand's advertisers, nor have we changed how these policies are enforced. So in short, they're saying nothing about monetization has changed. The only thing they've changed is that they're notifying us when videos are demonetized. Here's the rundown of the specific notification changes we're rolling out over the next few weeks. 1. We'll change the dollar icon in Video Manager to yellow with the hover message, quote, not advertiser friendly, request manual review, end quote, to make it more clear when a video is demonetized. 2. We'll send you an email notifying you if a video is newly demonetized due to advertiser-friendly content concerns. Note that demonetization decisions may not happen immediately, so a video may be monetized for a period of time after it is uploaded and then become demonetized. 3. You can click on the yellow dollar icon next to any video that is demonetized due to advertiser-friendly content concerns in Video Manager to request an appeal by human reviewers. You will be notified once a decision is made on the appeal, and if it is successful, your video will be immediately monetized again and have a green dollar icon in the Video Manager. And then they have a link to learn more about how to request an appeal. So now that we are all on the same page, I would like to kick off the discussion about talking about concerns about how YouTubers might have abused this situation. But before I get into that, I would actually like to look at the chat and see what you guys have to say. So this is your cue to ask your questions or give any thoughts, comments, concerns you have about the topic. The question, what about censorship, I actually addressed in my previous video on the topic yesterday. Yes, I see you, Unscripted. Is my channel affected by these changes? Not directly, in that I haven't had any videos that have been demonetized. However, all 8 million creators on YouTube are affected by this. It seems really weird that Philly D just now has this problem after commenting about crazy social justice warriors. Comments. No, I don't think it was specific targeting in that regard. I do have some more thoughts on Philly D, though, that I'll go into if you guys are curious. Do you think we'll see a lot more Patreons with this in effect? I do think in general that if you like and support creators, you should be supporting them through whatever means you can. If you can't support them financially, that's fine. Most people are just happy to have you viewing their content. But this whole fiasco we're running into with advertisement is a result of having to rely on advertisement as one of our revenue streams. If people would pay for our content, whether directly or indirectly through a source like Patreon, that of course eliminates a good chunk of our need to have to worry about ad revenue. Roast Philly D, go in. Gosh, I might make some enemies with this. Before I go into my thoughts on Philly D, do you think another video streaming website will step up if creators back away from YouTube? The problem is hosting video is extremely expensive, and part of what makes YouTube special is the fact that it has algorithms that help to promote people, considering it's the world's second largest search engine. So even if another site was able to come up with the infrastructure to be able to host videos the way that YouTube can, they still don't have the leverage of being the world's largest second search engine, which is YouTube itself, and they don't have the leverage of being integrated with Google, which is of course the world's largest search engine, period. I'm not going to talk about Leafy here. We're going to keep this on topic. Wouldn't demonetizing let the people who work at YouTube get lower salaries because most popular YouTubers use bad language? I'm not sure if you mean YouTube employees or people who are essentially contracted through the YouTube Partner Program, which is content creators. I do think that YouTube doesn't necessarily benefit from demonetizing videos unless they are trying to appease one particularly large advertiser interest group, perhaps, because in general, YouTube receives a portion of whatever revenue comes in. YouTube receives 45% of whatever ad revenue comes in, and the creator receives the other 55%. So this is also hurting YouTube financially, unless they see something bigger, some bigger benefit or prize at the end of this. Can I do the chat a favor and kick all abusive trolls out? Unfortunately, I will not be kicking out trolls because in this chat, as on this channel, I don't believe in moderation because I want everyone to be able to say what they want to say. The only thing that might get kicked is if people try to release private information, because I've covered so many individuals on this channel. Doxing information is blacklisted. So I will go into my thoughts a little bit on the concerns I have with how this situation was handled, particularly the fear-mongering that happens on YouTube every time there's a big issue. For those of you who are new here, you might not be aware that I got my start by covering the Fine brothers when everything went to hell with that situation, with them trying to trademark the word react. I'm also just gonna pop the chat on the screen here so you guys could see that. So that was actually what got me started as a channel, and what made me start is because during that situation so many people responded irrationally. It was a trademark issue and people were talking about copyright. People were screaming at the camera and frantic, and that's not how it needed to be handled. People just needed information, and I think that once again we're seeing a repeat of that here. This is like Fine Bros 2.0, where there's a little bit of controversy, there's an easy way to lash out at YouTube, and it's an easy payday for a lot of YouTubers. So everyone jumped on it, and the more sensational they could be, the more money they could make. And I do have the problem that with some creators, yes, there's that rush to get it posted as quickly as you can, but I think that some of them might have abused the situation a little bit. Normally, I would try to not name names, but in this case, because it's the nature of my channel that I always cite my sources, I will. I think that hello Tube News, I think that one particular example, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate on both sides here, right? Let's switch back to the smaller screen. And
what's up, you beautiful bastards? Hope you have a
take a look at Philly D's video. So let's take a look at his title. First of all, YouTube is shutting down my channel and I'm not sure what to do. Now, that could be part of the situation, of course. He could be afraid of that, or it could be a clickbait title. And I personally, I don't think anyone's a fan of clickbait, but we understand that it's a necessary evil on YouTube. However, the problem I have in this situation is when you say YouTube is shutting down my channel and your channel's not really being shut down, that's fear-mongering. That's the same tactic that traditional media uses to try to scare people. And the biggest concern with this, now I'm not saying this was his intention, but it is one way that it could be interpreted, is later in the video, let's see if I could skip through to it. It's right about here. He says during the video that he may never be able to monetize his videos again, and then he starts promoting his merchandise. Now, I had a problem with that. If you follow the interpretation that he's fear-mongering and then trying to tell his viewers, hey, my channel might get shut down, I might never be able to make money again, so here, go buy my t-shirts, go buy my merchandise. That's directly profiting off this situation. And I do find that sort of behavior a little bit concerning. And I hate to come down on anybody. I've never had a problem with Philip DeFranco before, and I still don't. But if I were to reverse this situation, if this was me and I made a video on the topic, and instead of the title I use, here's my video, right? If I made the title of the video, YouTube is shutting down my channel, but here's my Patreon, please go support me, I would kind of feel like a piece of crap, and I would expect people to call me out on it. So in this case, I am mentioning that, and I'm really curious to know what you guys think. One of you just said, maybe from Phil's point of view, if he can't make money, then his channel is de facto shut down. I can understand that point of view, and he certainly has addressed in his follow-up video, which is right here. He addressed in this video that by default, it's like a war of attrition. This is a way to squeeze out YouTubers because, to use his words, it makes producing these sorts of videos unsustainable. However, that also brings up another problem with this situation. Some YouTubers made the point that, hey, if YouTube isn't, monetizing these videos about self-harm that are helpful, for example, then they just don't care about self-harm. And that's not necessarily true. That's one interpretation of the situation. But you could also flip it around and say, well, if you don't want to make a video on that topic just because you're not making money from it, then you don't really care about self-harm. Now, bear in mind, some of this is my opinion, but a lot of it is just playing devil's advocate on both sides, because I'm finding a lot of YouTubers that I would normally support have kind of made statements that I don't necessarily agree with in this case, and I don't think they're bad people. I think it's part of the fear that overtook everybody, but I think this is a systemic issue on YouTube because YouTubers have so much power in these situations. And that is enough of me talking for now. I'm going to switch back to the chat. Really, YouTube is all about the money, so they do what is best for that. I'm not sure if you mean YouTube or YouTubers do what's best for the money, but I definitely do want to raise the point that a lot of people don't realize YouTubers have a very vested interest in what they're saying about this. I saw one long comment. Let me read back and grab that. Phil has always promoted merch in most of his recent videos. Not only is it nothing new, but it goes along with what he said in the video. He stated that his business still lasts thanks to the people. This is true, and it's all different interpretations, but you could also say, I put ads on most of my videos, but when I talked about Christina Grimmie dying, I didn't, because I thought it would be a little tasteless and it could send mixed messaging. And not everybody has to agree with me or the way I do things, for sure. But in this case, I think it was very clearly funneling that fear-mongering into a way that he could monetize and profit from this. Again, I'm not saying that was his intention. It might not be intentional. I can't possibly know what his intentions are, but it is one interpretation of the situation. They should try to update the terms of service every few years, nothing like this. Well, that's one of the problems, Mark, is this was actually not a new change. This has been around. The only change is they're making it more apparent for us. And that's actually a very interesting issue, because you could ask, does YouTube have that obligation, or is it our obligation as content creators to be reading the contracts and the terms of the website that allows us to make our living, right? And I'll actually give you an example from when I first started my channel. I mentioned this in one of my videos, which is that when I first started my channel, I started it to test reaction videos and to test YouTube's algorithms, right? And in my first month, I received 300,000 views. Now, typically you would receive at least $1 per 1,000 views, so that would be $300. Instead, I made 86 cents that month. Why was it so low, even though most of my videos were monetized? It was because YouTube chose not to serve ads, and YouTube does reserve that right in their policy. In fact, I might be able to bring it up here. See if I can find it. Advertiser-friendly content. I would have to find it specifically, and I'm not seeing it right now doing a quick skim, but they do say that they reserve the right not to place ads on your videos. And they reserve the right to do that without notifying you too. So it is possible. This isn't new, because that happened to me all the way back in January. I see we've got a couple people crushing on Clockwork Cyborg in the chat. Yeah, well, YouTube does have a similar standard to Google Ads in the sense that they both are tied to AdSense, yes. It is all about tags. Advertisers can blacklist some tags and boom, no ads. This is definitely very true. Thank you, TC Gamer. Vimeo and Dailymotion, do I think that they could be competitors in any way? Probably not. And the main reason is that even though they have the video infrastructure, if every large YouTuber tried to go over there, their video infrastructure might crash. I have no idea if it could support it. But again, there's the fact that they don't have those algorithms in place, which is really what allows YouTubers to grow. And without that room for growth, producing video content also might not be that sustainable, or else most YouTubers would just be posting videos on our own websites. The reason why we're all here on YouTube is because it gives us a greater chance to be found. When has no swearing been a part of YouTube policy? This was definitely more strict. The policy itself has not changed. I can promise you that. When you read the policy, and I can only confirm this because for me, I read it very, very closely in January of this year when I was having monetization problems. They reserve the right not to put ads on any content, period. They are under no obligation to do that. Their current advertiser-friendly guidelines, which I have up on the screen right now, are very vague and ambiguously worded, and they do that because it gives them a lot of wiggle room, because they're trying to give creators, this is the support website for Google, they're trying to give creators some leeway and some guidelines and a framework to know what's okay and what isn't. But in terms of how they choose to enforce that, they've written into the terms and conditions that you accept on the website that is totally up to them. We made YouTube, we can break it. This is true, but it takes a massive, massive movement. So for example, let's say we didn't like this advertiser-friendly policy, right? You know what would have to change to affect that? It comes down to the money. So what it would mean is that the amount of money that they're making by having this policy in place, YouTube would have to lose enough viewers and probably enough content creators who draw in those viewers to lower the amount of revenue they would make through advertising versus what it is now, in order for them to really consider changing it. You know, they'll take little steps to address it for PR purposes, but in terms of real systemic change, it would come down to hitting them in the pockets. Hello, do you know what caused YouTube to do this mess? I'm guessing that they were actually trying to improve their systems to help creators and be more transparent. and they didn't think it through very well. And that combined with the Pandora's box of creators freaking out over seeing something different really caused it to spiral out of control. That said, I don't want to say that this wasn't warranted, and I still have serious concerns and reservations about their advertising policies. I just think that the way it was handled on YouTube really blew it out of proportion. Like seeing on Twitter, hashtag YouTube is over party. YouTube isn't really over, and people are just once again jumping on the bandwagon and celebrating something, or just celebrating the destruction of something and the mayhem that's happening, the same way that happened with Fine Brothers. You know, Fine Brothers started out as a legitimate issue, then people addressed it irrationally, then some more rational people came along, and then the totally irrational people came along who started making fun of the Fine Brothers for being Jewish and making all sorts of very, very inappropriate comments there that had nothing to do with the original topic. Same sort of thing is happening here, except on a smaller scale, because people just love jumping on a bandwagon. Hashtag YouTube is shit. YouTube has some work they need to do. I just think that we need to be very careful about what issues we choose to target. So stop watching YouTube and they'll fix it, essentially. If enough people do it, it's power in numbers. That's what it takes for YouTube to care about pretty much any issue. I see some people are talking about Twitch as an alternative. That is, again, as Angry Sun Theory is actually saying in the chat, it is still primarily a gaming website. And even then, Twitch is starting to lose some of its gaming partners to YouTube. More and more are starting to come over with YouTube gaming. You understand that they can demonetize what they want, but are bad words really hurting anyone? And inappropriate language, I mean swears. It depends, right? In my opinion, do swears hurt anybody? Should we care about them? Do most advertisers even care about it? No. I think that swearing is more acceptable nowadays, and in fact even desirable. It makes there have been studies done on this that it shows that it makes other people view you as being more down to earth if you could, and more relatable if you swear. So I don't think it's bad for most people, but there are some advertisers that just want squeaky clean content to advertise on. But do I think in reality too many of them are very concerned? I don't think so, but I don't have a study supporting that. Maybe if we switch, or made the switch gradually enough, it would be sustainable. So you're saying switching from YouTube to another platform? I think it would actually have to be, in my opinion, not gradual. I think it would have to be very abrupt and have, instead of these YouTubers who, this is kind of the hypocritical thing about all this, right? YouTubers like, oh my God, this is a horrible situation. Let me decry everything that's going on right now as they post the video on YouTube and as they make cash from it, right? They're still using the platform that they're complaining about to make money. If everybody was just like, you know what, I'm done. This is my last video. I'm moving to a new platform. Find me tomorrow on Dailymotion. Find me tomorrow on Vimeo. And enough creators did that at once, then you'd see YouTube go like, oh my God, what have we done? We have to address this now. And, you know, that also brings up the issue that, you know, you look at PewDiePie or Markiplier, PewDiePie in particular, whose content is not really very appropriate most of the time. Not only does he say and do offensive things, but he does it in a way that is done for shock value. I think it's harmless, but in terms of YouTube's policy, where did his banner go? He used to have an ugly looking banner. It's gone. No offense. I'm a bro fist. Yeah, I don't know what happened to his banner. That's what I was going to show. But he makes a lot of offensive content, and YouTube certainly isn't trying to apply this policy against him that we've seen anyway. Maybe he lost monetization to a few things. Roasted? No, I wasn't trying to roast him, I swear. Maybe a honey roast. A light, gentle honey roast with a touch of salt. Why does YouTube put effort into finding more advertisers? Advertising is actually really important. The more advertisers they have, the more demand there is to advertise on specific videos, which drives up the CPM, or cost per thousand views is what that stands for. Cost per mil, cost per thousand views. And the higher those rates go up, the better quality content that YouTube will be able to attract to its site, because more and more people will be able to make a better living from it and get a bigger, more lucrative piece of the pie. So what do you suggest that people that live off YouTube do then? I'm just curious to see your solution to this situation. Ah, that is a great question. Actually looking for a solution. I mentioned this a little bit in my video I did yesterday. It's in the card in the upper right hand corner if you are curious to get a more in-depth answer to this. But basically, I think the solution is twofold. And it all revolves around one basic principle, which is either directly or indirectly charging for your content, or making that content just a small piece of a bigger business plan. So for example, if you're a personal fitness guy, right, you're a fitness trainer, and you start a YouTube channel and you have a bunch of videos training people for free, but really it's just a way to lead those people to your website where you capture their email and get them to pay for a DVD or private, more advanced fitness content. In that way, you don't have to care about ad revenue on YouTube at all. It's a nice bonus. It's the cherry on the sundae to get that ad revenue, but you don't need it because you're just using it as a way to drive traffic to your own website where you're making money that way. So I think that's part of the solution, is you just want to make YouTube a small part of your larger business plan. But I think the second solution, and this is an interesting one, I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the chat. I think that the bigger solution is that YouTube as a community generally lashes out against creators when they try to run Patreons, when they accept donations on streams, when they try to sell merchandise or anything like that. And people will be like, oh, you're begging or you're asking for a handout. And I think part of it is re-educating the YouTube population, basically, to realize that free content is not free. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and there's no such thing as free content. Creators pour often thousands of dollars into their setup, hours of their time, and if they can't recuperate that money somehow, most of them will stop, because very rarely will you find a large YouTube channel that's really growing and being very successful. Generally, those people are doing that full time. You just can't have that level of dedication that it takes to be that successful while you're working a full-time job. So that's where re-educating people to realize, hey, this free content is worth something. If there is any other way that they can support those creators, then the creators don't have to rely on ad revenue. That was a long answer. Shouldn't advertisers choose what they put their ads on based on who they think their products will appeal to? Yes, absolutely. And there is a way to do that using YouTube's AdSense system. And you can actually choose what types of videos you want to target. However, they can't see inside those specific videos to see if they are family friendly or not. Let's say you're an advertiser who is advertising a Christian game, right? And then you're a developer, you're advertising a Christian game, and you target it to gamers. Well, in gamers, you've got people like PewDiePie who say some unchristian things, right? Maybe you don't want your ads associated with that. And that's what YouTube is trying to narrow down on behalf of these creators. Or on behalf of these advertisers. So the advertisers can just check the right boxes and be able to get the advertisement videos that they want. Futuristic Hub and Clockwork Cyborg going at it again. Back at it again. Full house? Yeah, we've got a decent amount of people here. 200 plus people. Why is there ad-friendly policy to begin with if advertisers control it themselves? Well, that would actually, there might be a bit of a delay in the chat, but that would actually be addressed by what I had just mentioned, which is that they can narrow it down to gamers or different subsets, or possibly, I'm not even sure if they could do genders, but they could narrow it down to different demographics, but that doesn't tell them what videos are actually in those demographics and what's in those specific videos that might not be content that they want to advertise on. Where am I at on the political compass? So I don't usually go into my political views, but I'll go into it a little bit just because it does tend to form the lens that I use to look at a lot of issues, because it's just the broader philosophy I tend to subscribe to. I'm a bit more libertarian. I tend to believe in hands-off control from the government. I don't want the government controlling everything we do. Although nowadays I have to say, like, and this comes up a lot when I talk about free speech and censorship, which you guys talk about in relation to topics like this. You know, I don't believe in censorship. I want as little government control as possible with that. And I feel those topics are often associated with the government. And in the US, for example, the Constitution protects free speech from the government, not from private entities. But nowadays, with some companies like YouTube becoming near monopolies but not legally being considered as such, those checks and balances to stop YouTube from becoming the next power like the government aren't there. So now it's almost like big corporations are starting to become a bit more of a problem that we have to be concerned about. And I, for one, think YouTube should be considered a monopoly, but that's just me. I deserve more views? Well, thank you for being here and being one of those people that's watching. I don't hate you because you work for the government. I understand the government still serves a valid purpose. If we had an additional ratings category that a creator can choose, more mature content could get advertising from advertisers with more mature products. Yeah, I certainly think that assuming people will honestly self-report, that is a potential solution. Or once again, you could open it up to the community and have the community vote. But of course, both those solutions also have potential for abuse. Basically, the more control that YouTube gives us, the more chance there is for us to abuse it. Would it be better if YouTube created subsites for families and kids? They actually do that. They have apps like YouTube Kids, which is a total subsection of YouTube where only family-friendly videos are available and certain features are unavailable. But if you've ever used that app, they consistently because, you know, the question might be, well, if they have that in place already, why can't they use that for advertisers? It's not very good. They are extremely cautious, and they, at least as of the last time I looked, which was nearly a year ago now, last October is the last time I checked, they tend to mark a lot of content as not being child friendly, even though it is, because they err on the side of caution. YouTube should allow porn, hashtag. They already do with some of the educational videos. Thoughts on Bernie Sanders? RIP. Okay, guys, so at this point, are there any other questions on, or thoughts or concerns that you have that you want addressed? Let me switch this. Any other thoughts or questions or concerns that you want addressed on this topic, or do you all feel pretty good about it? Or is everything kind of coming to a resolution, or do you think that YouTube's ad policy still needs to be changed, and this isn't this is not acceptable, that they haven't been notifying all this time that all this time that they've been demonetizing our content? Your question is whether or not you're a special snowflake or not. You are if you want to be. In fact, actually, let's try this. I think I could set up a poll for you guys so I can get your opinion. Let's try it right now and we'll see if it works. trying to decide if I want to add another choice to this. The question is, are you satisfied with YouTube monetization now? And the answers are yes or no. So I'm going to throw up the poll right now. Hopefully you guys will see it. It'll be a card in the upper right-hand corner. I'd be very curious to see your votes. Yes, it has been a nice chat. It's been a surprisingly tame chat. I expected it to be worse with no moderation, but you guys are awesome. You don't agree with them blocking news which reports and uses correct language like boogie. Yeah, you know, I certainly don't agree with some of the videos that were unmonetized, and it's very scary. Yes, the poll is on mobile. Cards work on mobile, tablet, PC, everywhere. In the upper right-hand corner, if you click on the eye that's in a circle, you should see a poll there that you can answer. Oh, you might have to refresh, apparently. So if you don't see it, I guess you could try refreshing. I'll give you guys a minute while you do that, and I'll take a sip of some much needed water. Just waiting for the poll to show up for everybody. There we go. Hi, Brooke. Neat poll is neat. Some of you guys are seeing it? That's good. Okay. Good to know that that feature works. You just had to refresh, apparently. People are saying if they don't have it, YouTube is broken. Well, if we talked about how YouTube is broken, we could have streams every single day. Let me see if we're getting any responses to the poll. I just have to hop into my analytics to try to see that really quick. Not sure if that information is available right away. Actually, I think that's in my cards. Let's see if I can find that. I've never done a live poll yet before. %10 said yes. You can't believe it. You are speechless. Well, some people are just happy clams. That's okay. There is no right or wrong answer. Guys, if you're not seeing the poll, you just need to refresh. But of course, you could still write your comments in the chat. I do have it on the screen, so people will be able to see it after this is over. Currently, we're at yes 20%, no 79%. Interesting. Open my browser history? Why, you want to get a peek? YouTubers should get a boost of ad revenue instead of demonetization, ? I mean, theoretically, sure, it would be nice to get a boost of ad revenue, but you have to get people interested in advertising, which is part of what's bringing on this entire conundrum. How do you think these rules will affect the artist part of YouTube community? Artists who tend to draw gore and dark things. That's a great question. And I think the way it's mostly going to be affected is that the video itself on YouTube is kind of a black box. YouTube can't see what's in that video. It's just like a little box that can't be penetrated because it can't be parsed by algorithms. So they rely on metadata. Some sources of metadata people might not think of aside from the obvious, which are your keywords and tags and description or and title. Some other things that also count as metadata are closed captioning, if you have closed captioning files on your videos. So the main thing is you would want to make sure that you are keeping your metadata clean, theoretically, and that should stop YouTube from flagging your videos, hypothetically. We're assuming that that's the way the algorithm works, which I think is a 95% educated guess that is likely correct. It's an educated guess. It's 95% likely to be correct, but I could always be wrong. Do you think YouTube will fix this? No, I don't think they're going to fix it beyond what they've done, which is that from YouTube's point of view, they don't think they've broken anything. They think they've done something good to try to help people by letting them know when their videos have been demonetized and by giving them a way to appeal it. So from YouTube's perspective, they seem to think, judging by, I will show you, judging by this clarification on their ads monetization policies, they think what they're doing is helping people. So they don't think there's an issue that needs to be fixed. And as soon as the outrage dies down, this too shall pass. And I don't think it's going to get fixed. I think this is still going to be what it is, and it's just going to be one other headache that YouTubers are going to have to deal with in making videos. This is the business back end that we deal with constantly that viewers don't get to see. Ad blockers and YouTube Red. What was the rest of your question, Baby Bear? I'll try scrolling up and seeing if I can find it. You seem to just be typing ad blockers YouTube Red, and I'm not sure what question you're trying to ask with that. Do a wiggle? Is that a wiggle? Hashtag awkward wiggle in the chat. If enough big YouTubers leave, would they change it? Yes. If enough big YouTubers leave, YouTube would change pretty much anything. If YouTube's CEO actually cared, they would have consequences for people who send false DMCA claims. It's a copyright issue. I don't think they're going to do anything about this demonetization thing. Yes, and it's true that I think the oh my god, you guys are actually trending. Awkward wiggle. Offer wiggle. No, I don't accept money to wiggle. What kind of girl do you think I am? Yeah, of the issues that are out there, I certainly think copyright is a bigger one. Thank you, News Cartridge. Wasn't very wiggly? Will this affect YouTuber creativity? Yeah, most likely. I mean, it's going to make us both more creative and less creative, right? We're going to have to be more creative about getting around the system. Little wiggle. That wasn't even a wiggle, that was a flap. But, you know, it can limit the creativity in what sorts of topics we actually choose to discuss. Hey, Ricky. Won't this just affect the revenue of the YouTube corporation? Yes, it'll technically, by putting ads on less videos, it will lower the amount of money that YouTube makes from ad revenue. But if it allows them to land larger advertisers, then it will increase their revenue. So there's something going on behind the scenes there, and I'm not sure if it's that they're trying to land some tricky advertiser deal, or if it's really just that they wanted to make this more transparent for creators, and by making this change it brought to light, you know, the bigger issue. It could be like if you go to replace a carpet in your house and then you find out that your floorboards are wrecked and need to be replaced too. Sometimes addressing the top layer of an issue reveals a deeper layer of the same issue. Or I don't know if there's some social agenda there. You know, it's very interesting with more and more of these social media websites leaning towards groups aimed towards political correctness, such as Twitter with the Trust and Safety Council. I'd be curious to know if there's any influences like that with YouTube too, but so far no evidence of that I'm aware of. What you see is that people will be less motivated in making creative content. They will have a huge chance of not getting monetized. This will lead to less content and less money. One thing I have to say is that I think that this is something that I think a lot of YouTubers misrepresented when they covered this issue, is that the percentage of flagged videos was very, very small relative to their overall view count. Like, let's take a look. Let's take a look at, where is our friend Mr. Repzion? So let's take a look at how many videos he's done total. So I don't know if this shows how many videos are here, but let's go to Social Blade really quick. This is when you have to hope there's nothing scandalous in your search history, in your little URL history. Mr. Repzion. Mr. Repzion has over 1,000 videos live. And if he has only had 12 or so flagged or 20 flagged, that's only 1 or 1.5% of his total videos that had to deal with demonetization. Let's take a look at Philly D. Let's get his actual channel name.
What's up, you beautiful bastard?
Every time with his beautiful bastards. Let's take a look at him. Now, I forget if he said how many videos he had demonetized. I think he was also in the dozens. And he has also uploaded 1,800 videos. So again, a very, very small percentage of his videos face this issue. Other YouTubers I spoke to, it's all around 1% or less. I didn't even face it at all. And I certainly, judging by the likes and dislikes on my videos, I've certainly covered some controversial topics with no problem. The stream will now be unmonetized. Would you really be surprised? Yeah, guys, I'm gonna be unmonetized. Please go to my Patreon. Please support me. I might die without your support. No, but really, I mean, that's kind of what a lot of YouTubers did. Yeah, Philly D's gonna have to change his intro after all this, right? I actually do have a Patreon, by the way. Wink, wink. But it's for my gaming channel. It's not for this channel. Yeah, Hulk knows. He already pledged. He Hulk smashed. And speaking of Hulk, if you guys are enjoying this live stream, if you want to Hulk smash that like button, I would appreciate it because it'll help spread the word about it. We're actually coming closer towards the end of the stream now, though. Hello, you made it. No sad foghorn music. What is my gaming channel? I will post it in the chat, but it is youtube.com/instagamer. There you go. Baby Bear, I saw your question. I didn't see you ask it very clearly, though. You said ad block and YouTube Red. I guess, and that was all you said. So I'm going to answer what I think is your question, which is that does ad block or YouTube Red affect this issue at all? And here's my thoughts on that. YouTube Red we'll start with YouTube Red. YouTube Red is not affected by this because YouTube Red exists solely, for the most part, from a monetary purpose. It exists to eliminate ads on YouTube. So this whole advertiser friendly thing does not affect YouTube Red. If there is anything that is affected by that, it could indirectly affect it by if creativity is limited, if people start self-censoring, etc. But otherwise, as a whole, no, it does not directly impact YouTube Red. Does AdBlock impact things? If you've been using AdBlock, you're not dealing with ads anyway. So no, that doesn't really impact things. Now, if enough people are using AdBlock that it makes YouTube nervous, and they're like, we're not making enough money from advertising, this model is no longer sustainable, what can we do to make it sustainable again? And they choose to do something like this as a measure of making it more sustainable, then in that way, AdBlock can affect things. Because generally when you're using AdBlock, you're not using the website the way it's designed to be used. And as I say that, please, oh, I'm not showing my screen, good, so you can't see my AdBlock button. I swear I only have it on while I record. Do you think Google is handling these problems better than the original owners? It's an interesting question. You know, a lot of people have mixed opinions on Google, that Google, you know, is kind of the evil it tried not to be because it's such a large corporation. I think given their level of power, they've been pretty decent, but do I think that YouTube and Google certainly need competitors that would help keep them in check more? Absolutely. What is your question about Pyrocynical? I'd be happy to answer it. I'm not sure what you mean with him in regards to this situation. How does YouTube Red work for YouTubers being paid? Basically, Very, very high level summary of it is the amount of watch time we have on our videos. YouTube Red is kind of like a big pool of money from all the people who pay into it, right? Then that pool is distributed based on your watch time. So YouTubers with higher watch time get more reward from YouTube Red. Long story short is a lot of people freaked out about YouTube Red back in the beginning, but generally it pays better than ads. Throwing that shade at other YouTubers milking this situation. God, I'm trying to be as nice as possible, man, Robert, because most of them are not, they're people I generally agree with and support. But every time there's a situation like that, everyone is just like, they're milking the cow. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, I obviously made a video on it too, and that benefits me. So there's certainly that, but that's kind of what I do is I make videos on this topic, and I tried to be rational. I didn't try to send everyone into a tizzy. Not everyone has to be like me, but you know, I wish some people had been tad less alarmist and addressed the real issues. Is YouTube being responsible with these new rules? They are using it to censor criticism. I know for some of you I've addressed this, but we always have new people coming in here. I think that YouTube can use it to censor people, but you have to watch how you use the word censor. I technically don't think they are censoring people, but it causes people to self-censor because they don't want to produce content that's not sustainable, that doesn't have an ROI or good rate of return on investment for the time that they're putting into creating it. It is hard to ignore the bandwagon mentality, and I've actually thought of doing a video on this for a while, which is that a lot of people idolize their favorite YouTubers, and because of that, they blindly follow what these people say without doing more work or more research into it for themselves. That's part of why I created this channel, to try to always gather sources in one place to help people decide for themselves. But, you know, there's power in numbers, and it kind of sucks if those numbers don't keep themselves informed. Which, by the way, is probably going to bring me on our last point, since we're coming up on an hour here. You know, I think that the second reason I have kind of an issue with this is that it's actually a point that I was talking to Mundane Matt earlier today. And through talking with him, I had posted a video on Twitter. I'll actually show you. I posted a video on Twitter. I don't know why I typed in my own name when I could just click on my profile, but that's okay. I won't play it now. You guys could see it. I look ratchet in the video. I don't know why Twitter video... Oh, that's an awful face. Like, anyway. I don't know why Twitter video always makes me look so awful. But I posted something in here to ask people to try doing some math on their analytics to see if YouTube had been demonetizing us all this time and not telling us. I couldn't do that myself because I didn't have any videos that were directly affected by this. But after I posted this, I was talking to Matt, and we were kind of just comparing some numbers, and it looked to me like for news channels, which are the channels that I was originally... I always look beautiful, thank you. Flatter me. Anyway, I was originally most concerned about news channels for this, because news channels are the ones that are always constantly covering these controversial topics. However, for news channels, most of our monetization comes in the first few days of a video being published. There's two types of content that you can create on YouTube. You can create trending content, often referred to as tentpole content as well, whereas when there's a specific event, you make content surrounding that event, and it's very timely and people will watch it. Or you can make a second type of content, which is called evergreen content. And in that content, that it doesn't have to be super timely, but you could talk about topics that last for a very long time, like what is the best child's toy? How is the universe created? Is feminism wrong? All those topics are evergreen, which means that they can always be searched by YouTube and you'll make residual income from them. All that to go back to the original point, which is that for YouTubers who make news, we generally don't make evergreen content. We make timely content. And most of our monetization comes within the first few days. So if YouTube takes more than a few days to demonetize our videos, it doesn't really matter anymore. So that's another reason why these news channels who are freaking out over this, I realize they might not have thought of this right away because I didn't either, but it's another reason the freakouts were less justified. Feminism is necessary. Oh gosh, I'm not trying to steer the chat towards feminism. Okay, guys, so I think at this point I'm going to be wrapping up this live show, but before I do, I wanted to let you guys know that this one was kind of impromptu. I saw something happening and really wanted to talk about it, and honestly, I wanted to do this hours ago, but I was stuck in class, dag nabbit. But I think I'm going to start doing a live show like this weekly, and it won't just be me. I'll actually have a different guest on the show every week. So it'll be about an hour like this, probably on Saturdays, I'm thinking, where we'll talk about all the issues that happened for the week and break it down and then open it up to the chat so we could get the chat's thoughts too. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the chat because I'm going to be reading. I want to see if you guys like that idea. And after this is finished, feel free to give it a like, leave any additional comments in the video once it's actually uploaded to YouTube so that your comments can last there forever if you want to share your thoughts in a longer format, longer lasting format for posterity than what you get with live chat. I'm not going to be going on my gaming channel for today. This is going to be my only stream. You guys are saying yes, yes, you like it? Yes. Great idea. You like the idea. Okay. Oh, you guys are so supportive. Except for that one rogue comment that says I smell like doo-doo. Thank you. I'm glad that computers now have a sense of smell that travels. You liked because there's no love button. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I think we'll make this a weekly thing because I really like interacting with you guys on here. And again, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And once the video is uploaded, a video on demand of this will be uploaded and you can go there and leave your thoughts and continue debating. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for coming, and I will see you next time. And now that awkward moment when I have to hit the stop streaming button.